Hello viewers, my loyal subscribers, all 20 something of you. Today I'm having a look at Dead Air, a game about radioactivity. This was a Kickstarter that I backed back in January 2023 and only took down from my shelf 2 weeks ago to have a playthrough and try to make a dent in my backlog of games. So I'm gonna do a quick run through of the Kickstarter and then we can have a look at the book and I'll explain the mechanics and a bit of a review. So, Dead Air. Dead Air is a solo RPG about running a radio station after nuclear Armageddon. The zine, roughly 30 pages, it ended up being 42 pages I believe, takes the form of a collection of found documents collected before and after the bombs fell. You will take on the role of station manager alongside any other roles that you can't find wasteland survivors to fill. The job will have you spending as much time trying to make sense of ancient and conflicting broadcast guidance as you will keeping the generators running and the wolves at bay. So this was a game created by Fiona Ruthaven, a Scottish creator and published in Strathclyde, Scotland. She is Sleepy Sparrow Games, and then in association with Blackwell Games, they created this or published this. At the time of the Kickstarter, the print and PDF version was £10, and then there was a collector's edition available for £30, so £20 extra. Now this is available on both itch.io, just the PDF, and on the Blackwell Games website for physical and PDF. I think PDF only on itch.io, I'm not sure, is maybe £10, and then physical is now €14.95 or £12 GBP. For what I paid for it, £10 at the time, just for the game itself, not the extras collector's edition, I would say that it was a pretty good price. We'll get into it a bit later, but the mechanics, the lore, everything here is really well done. The collector's edition came with some extra goodies, a little pencil with a radio transmitter there on it. There is some guidance for, so you're running a radio station in a nuclear wasteland, some best practices for recording your show. Yeah, that's maybe where I should have started off. So let's read what the creator wrote in here. Hello and welcome to Dead Air. I'm your host Fiona, and I'll be with you right through to the end. This book is laid out as a collection of found documents. You'll come across newspaper clippings, 15th generation photocopies, and other weird miscellanea. Pages that look like this one are out of character, OOC, and will deal with the actual mechanics of playing the game. Everything in OOC pages can be trusted, but every other page is totally subjective. It's up to you if you want to follow. For example, 1950s military guidance over 1980s civil defense paperwork. Dead Air is an exercise in doing the best you can with very limited resources. There's a note on tone here, kind of some safety tools, you know, it's about satire and having fun rather than being edgy. Then there's a bit on radio, and you don't need any experience, but you can record your programs. So the mechanics of this game are absolutely fantastic. So if you're just looking for the game experience, it's doable. It's without getting into a whole creative or recording your side, radio side of things. That will be more how I was playing it. But yeah, if people want to record their sessions, and yeah, you can put them online and with some jingles or maybe some music as well. That's also up to you. So what do you need? You need a deck of cards and a pen and paper to play with. As part of the collector's edition upgrade, this totally banjaxed, destroyed deck of cards came with them. I started writing on some of them because the clubs here are equipment cards, so it was just easier for me to write on them so I knew what I had. But yeah, so it came with this. So yes, there are a couple of additional things which will make the experience a bit simpler. A copy of the map and band plan, and a form to track your remit progress. There are photocopyable examples of these at the end of the book, or you can draw them yourself pretty simply. There's a 2-page flow chart towards the end of the book, which you may find useful as a quick reference guide. So let me show you quickly. There's a map here of that area of Scotland, Strathclyde. I don't know if this comes with the normal version, but it came with the collector's version, a handout map as well, so you don't have to be flipping through here. And then the sheets that were mentioned. This is the radio program report, and yeah. So we have printouts of these, and there's a copy from my previous playthrough, which I'll get into how that works a bit later. So, okay. How you set up your play area is up to you, of course, but you probably want an area for your equipment cards, a stockpile area for your resources, sticky notes or bookmarks for your most beloved tables and references, a pencil and rubber. That's an eraser for people who are not from the UK or Ireland. An attitude of grim determination, and a radiation detection instrument capable of gamma and neutron detection, optional. Already here you can see some of the lore in the game. So this is a summons that you've been summoned to be a broadcaster. This is a directory you must attend, blah blah blah. It's a pretty cool little feelies. Well, these are the feelies, but the pieces of lore in the game. If the worst should happen, so you know, like some nuclear issue. Here is some lore on Strathclyde. This is really well written, you know, funny lore. For example, Kilmarnock, unchanged, avoid. Only 2 days sailing from Dumbarton, or 1 from Lochgilphead. Visit Colonsay to see the sheep. Untouched by the horror of war, free from sin, surprising and mysterious, the sheep. And then we have a bit here, like the people. The people of Strathclyde are very diverse, ethnically, religiously, socially, and in attitude towards the consumption of human meat. Do not expect to meet only kilted whiskey drinkers, although you will. Respecting local customs means pronouncing loch, not loch, and avoiding risky topics like football or the English. Yeah, so there's a lot of fun little lore here about this area. Even on the map as well, there's lots of fun little ditties. There was like here to be like Vikings, pirates over here, monks with guns, detected day 2, like just little bits to give a bit of flavor to your game. I do remember seeing something about the English, but I can't find it now. Anyway, let's move on. So, resources. So, I'm just going to set up the area a bit. So, equipment cards, power, people, and problems. So, spades are your people cards. All spades, regardless of card value, are 1 person. People cards can be used in 3 ways. You can assign them to staff pieces of equipment in your station. Just put the card sideways on top of the equipment card to show this. You can assign them as runners, who are members of station staff who scour the wasteland in search of useful supplies. To do this, put them aside during the scavenging round. At the start of the next turn, they come back to the station with what they found. Finally, you can use people cards as a caller or a guest to bring a news item to your desk. To do this, burn the card and draw from the news context tables. Draw 3 cards and see what you get. You can pick from either of the tables depending on which you prefer. Don't forget to shuffle the 3 cards back into the deck. Power. All hearts, regardless of card value, are 1 power. Power cards can be used in 3 ways. To power equipment. Cards powering equipment are not burned at the end of the turn, and you can retrieve them in later turns to use as you see fit. It may help to think of it as charging your batteries. Power can be used to increase your transmitter power, but put the power cards by your band plan and increase your transmitter power by 1 for each power card. These These are not burned at the end of the turn. They work just like power or equipment. To power your transmitter for broadcast, simply burn one power card back into your deck every turn. If you do not do this, you cannot transmit that turn. To burn a card, shuffle it back into the deck. And then we have the equipment cards, which, like I mentioned a moment ago, apply to these pieces of equipment. So the ace is the dielectric power generator, which gives you 1 free power for every turn, and etc, etc. And then problems, pronounced in italics, represent the many things which could go wrong when running a radio station in a nuclear wasteland. Each problem is different depending on card value, so check the problem section to see what horror awaits. Some problems are critical, which require a draw from the second table. So yeah, you'll draw a problem card, you head on over to this table, and it will tell you, let's say I drew the 9 of diamonds, all rival stations gain 1 power. But if I had drawn ace, king, queen, jack, or 5, 4, 3, 2, I would have to draw from another table. So the technology problem table, people, news, powers that be, which are here. Technology, powers that be, news critical failure, catastrophic critical failure. So what's the point of this game? So you have to, in 10 weeks, each turn is 1 week, you need to broadcast to the area. You will have your primary remit items, which are issued at the start of your license on turn 1. And they must be delivered to all settlements in your broadcast region. Your settlements are this A to I here, A, B, blah, blah, blah. And you are this transmitter here. And yes. The secondary remit item issued 6 weeks into your license, so on turn 6, which must be delivered to all settlements in your region as well, but only once they have heard all 3 primary remit items. As you broadcast to each settlement, you can tick off if they've heard your remit yet. So primary 1, 2, 3, and then your secondary remit. And finally, a broadcast news requirement. You must broadcast at least 5 items of news over the license period. And they count if they just reach even one of the settlements. So, let's start off. I just had to pause for a second to double check I had everything correct. So, before we start the game, we are drawing our primary remit items. So we draw 3 cards. I'll put them up here for now. So we have these 3 cards, and we go and check the remit tables. So, first one was an 8. So announce the return of a pre-war organization. Announce return of pre-war organization. I will draw the other 2 and then summarize. So, to find your primary remit items, draw 3 cards and refer to the remit definition table. Take a note of the results. Think about what your primary remit item infers about the world you were speaking to. For example, if your remit is to denounce the separatists, who are they? What does the existence of a separatist movement say about the powers that be? How do your 3 remit items interact with each other? Does one item support or contradict another? Why? You should have a general idea about what your remit item means before you begin your first program, but not too concrete an idea. The meaning might evolve and change as the game goes on. The world of dead air is horrific, unfair and funny, and a laugh or you'll cry away. If your remit seems too easy, try interpreting one of your items as uncharitably as you can. Your secondary remit item is found the same way as the first, but you only draw 1 card, and only when you reach week 6. And yeah, so my remit items, what I said before, announced return of pre-war organization, was incorrect because I forgot I should check the suit. So the 3 remit items: the new peaceful organization is not a cult, assurance that Americans could never reach us, and embrace the bold vanguards of the new order. And then these get shuffled back into the deck. So, turn structure. Turns in Dead Air are split into 3 rounds: the scavenging round, the broadcast round, and problems. There is a very nifty flowchart in the book. Start, define 3 primary remit items, draw 3 power and 4 staff. Scavenging round, broadcast round, problems, and back around again. Okay? So, if this is your first turn, draw 3 power and 4 people cards. So let's do that. We can do a double check on the suits, people, and power. Two, 3, 4 power, and spades, 1, 2, 3 spades. And then you shuffle up the deck. These are my power and equipment people. Okay. And before we get into the gameplay, I'll show you some of the kind of world building and feelies that were included. So there were a couple of postcards issued by the Ministry of Broadcast Communication. Send only urgent post, help protect our vital services. We hope it won't happen, but if it does, get low down, get under cover, do not look and do not move, tune in and wait for guidance. Issued by the Ministry of Broadcast Communication. Then I've redacted my name here. You receive from the National Health Agency of Scotland, Strathclyde Regional Command Centre, Glasgow, potassium iodide tablets. We are living in the nuclear fallout world here. On the back, this is very fake, not real. Novelty item from the game Dead Air. If you try to use this, you will go to prison forever. Very cool. There was also a Discord for this game, and it's quite dead now because this was a few years ago, but they're still answering any rules questions there. But some of the jingles that the creators made are over there, and they're quite funny. So here you have your license, basically your summons to your duties for the attention of Dicing Solo. I am writing to confirm the issue of a 10-week broadcast license for call sign Strathclyde Radio on ECS Channel 3. I can confirm there is no broadcast power or footprint limitation for the duration of this license. The license is active from midnight on the day of your first broadcast until midnight on the last day of the 10th week. Please note that the reissue of this license is not guaranteed and will depend upon an assessment of your remit qualifications during your review period. Details of your remit requirements will follow this letter. On a personal note, thank you for your willing support for this project. I am led to understand you submitted to this duty voluntarily. Given the risks attached to this role, very few would make this commendable choice. I would like to take this opportunity to impress upon you the importance of your duty. Tens of thousands of lives may depend on your success, including your own. Best of luck on the air. Yours sincerely, F. Ruthven, Dispatch Officer. There were a couple of stickers. There was another postcard of Ben Lomond. I'm sure if I spent some time I could find it on the map. And a general view of Ben Lomond overlooking Loch Lomond, as remembered by old, blind, burned, can't die, crying, no skin Stevie, Strathclyde's premier artist and keeper of the memory of before times. The art gallery, we're still here. Another feelie was the takeaway menu for the Black Lagoon. Dial 0149 or scream chips. This is very funny. Fish, 95 pounds. Fish, 320. Scampi, kitten nuggets, leavings, elongated pork, haggis, haggis free range, haggis catch your own, barbecue king rib, steak Y, black pudding, green pudding, the matter, puppyroni. Clean water, water, water. Yeah. Remember our guarantee, if you can't force it down, we will, or your money back. Love it. So, if it's your first turn, draw 3 power, 4 people cards, then draw 3 random cards from the top of the deck. Otherwise, begin by bringing your runners back into the station if you sent any out last turn, and drawing a card from the deck for each of them. Inspect what your runners have brought back. Okay, so we're going to do the drawing 3 cards. So we get 2 more people, and that's a problem, right? So we come back to that a bit later. So now we assign our resources for the turn. This could mean assigning staff or power to equipment, or burning people cards to use as guests or callers for news items. You should also assign some staff as runners to bring back resources for next week. Put these cards aside to represent their journey out into the hell-blasted deathscape of Strathclyde. So I think we can assign 4 people as runners to bring things back. We'll use 1 person as a news item. Let me just double check. Yeah, so that person will be our news item. Then we draw 3 cards for the news item. We go to the spark tables for news item, and we have 2 options here. We can go with tone, tearful, pre-war building, attacked by people, or long, heap, missing. Kind of like the tearful, pre-war building, attacked by people. So I'm gonna say tearful. What is the place that's tearful? Okay, if people are losing loved ones, then I'm gonna say it's probably a hospital. Yeah, so let's say a hospital attacked by people. So this is one of my news items that I need to get out there. These will be shuffled back into the deck at the end of the turn. And I need to decide if I'm going to broadcast this turn, which I will. So this power will be burned. Yeah. So here's when we go from the mechanics of the game into the creative side. So if you are the kind of player so inclined to record your broadcast, you could do that now. Me, I'm not so quick on my feet to come up with this, but what I'm going to say is that I think I can assign extra power to my broadcast footprint. Let me just double check that. Yeah, so I can also boost my power. I'll keep 1 power just in case for the next turn so I can broadcast. In the meantime, I'll boost my power by 2. And they are not burned at the end of the turn. They're not burned at the end of the turn, so I'll do all 3. So that increases my power, which means my power goes out 4 squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're out to here. Here we're off the map. Here. Now. So you can only broadcast 3 news items. So I'm going to use this opportunity to broadcast my 3 primary remits to all of those within that range. So A, I reach him, no problem, with all 3. B, we're not sure yet because they're in a black zone. So with a blank zone, I need to draw a card, and if it is black, I managed to reach them. Draw a card from top of the cards, like, yeah. So, okay, so I managed to reach B. 1, 2, 3, 4. C is also in a black zone. Let's see if I managed to reach them. I did. D. E is in a black zone. I also managed to reach them. Wow. And 1, 2, 3, 4. That's as far as I got there. 1, 2, 3, 4. H and I. So that's also them. That's a pretty successful one. So let's just go to the flow chart. Burn 1 power to broadcast. Write a script with no more than 3 items. Determine which settlements you can reach. Determine whether there will be any spectrum interference. Check if black zones heard your broadcast. Note your progress in your preferred way. So that was my first turn. And now problems. So look up any problems on the problem table. So let me open the problem table. The 9 is all rival stations gain 1 power. So these are your rival stations. And just to explain a little bit about that, for some reason it's upside down here. In the weeks leading up to the rebuilding period, DEPRO will replace existing band plans with a simpler emergency channel system. This is due to an expectation that in the rebuilding period, many persons in charge of broadcasting. Let me just summarize this. If your neighboring channel, we are G6, if our neighboring channel has the same amount of power as us, then the broadcast is garbled and the people there didn't manage to hear any of us. Okay, so you want to keep your power above them. Okay, so that was the end of turn 1. We will start turn 2. Our power goes back over here. Our runners return. There's 4 of them, so they each return with, sorry, I should have shuffled these back into the deck. And we draw 4. That's a problem. That is power. That is power. And that is power. Wow, okay. So now we decide how to allocate our resources. So I have no equipment, so I'm again going to send out my 4 runners. And we will broadcast this round. Will we? FG. FG are over here. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we can reach them, which would mean we got our primary remit to everyone. I haven't seen this before ever. So that brings our power to 6. This one is burned. And yeah, so once again, my 3 news items, I will again broadcast the 3 primary remits because I want to get it to F and G. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 They 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, so they're both within range. So I'm going to broadcast to them. None of them are in a black zone. So we managed to reach them. And then we need to resolve the. So yeah, now you could record your broadcast, and there might be something like, not much has changed since the last week, and you're broadcasting the same news items, which would be very concerning for the residents in these settlements in a post-apocalyptic situation, because it might make them more suspicious. So narratively, you can use these things going forward. If there's any setbacks or problems and you want to feed them into the narrative, you might say that these folks are getting more suspicious because they've heard the same news item twice in a row. But yeah, you could say that you the folks in Free Bowmore and the fighting Fidden, blah blah blah, and tell them these news items. Okay, so we've managed to get our primary remits to everybody. Now we need to resolve the problem. So heading over to the problems table, it's a 4 critical failure news. See the news problem table. So we go over to the news problem table. I draw a card for that, and it's the King of Diamonds. The last piece of news you reported was wrong in the worst imaginable way. Okay. So let's say what I told everyone on this broadcast about the last piece being this: embrace the bold vanguards of the new order. So going forward in future weeks, I might twist that in a different way, or a correction next week about what was wrong there, or how I gave them the wrong news, etc. So right now we are at the end of turn 2. Power goes back over here, and these get shuffled back into the deck. And my runners return. And you go on like this until you get to week 6, when you receive your secondary remit, and which you can only broadcast to settlements which have already heard your primary remit. I was very lucky in this round, in this session. I managed to get it to everybody, but as you can see previously, G was still eluding me. So I could never broadcast secondary remit to them until I finished with my primary remit. I'm just going to pause and do a few more rounds and see how we go. So on turn 3, my runners came back. They brought 4 problems with them, which we will resolve at the end of turn 3. I've burned 1 power and spending 4 more power on broadcasting, and I decided to spend all the runners, then the people, on news items. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So my power will be 5 total. The reason I decided to spend all the people on news items was so I could get all my news remits done in one go. So we have the one from before, that hospital attacked by people. Next one, as though in a dream, a settlement gave up. The next one was confused, hated figure 1. And 4, comical food supply lost. I was thinking that the community managed to get their hands on some kind of hope giving kind of, maybe it was something as simple as popcorn or some kind of a treat from before, or chocolate, and then it was lost, like maybe in a flood or fell into the sea or something. So that's the comical part. And the next one was aware medicine taking. So I'm thinking that also maybe the powers that be are aware that people haven't been taking their iodine tablets, and yeah, so those are the news items. I'm broadcasting to power 5, although in theory Well, we need to be stronger than our neighboring channels, so that's these two. So I need to spend 2 power. We can keep 2. So there's the one we burned, this one, and this one, which brings us up to 3. So I'll just erase those last 2. And the thing is, the news remit just needs to be heard by 1 settlement. So we know A is close, so A and D in this case will hear it. B and C would be checking the black zone if they heard it, but it doesn't matter because we know that we're hitting those other ones. So I can only broadcast 3 news items. So I can only do 3 of the news items. So the rest need to wait for a future turn. And then these power go back here. That was the end of turn 3. And we need to resolve the problems. And I don't think this is going to go well at all. So, the ace, critical failure, technology. So we go to the technology table, we draw a card, the king. Lightning strikes the mast, all powered equipment costs 1 power each to repair. Luckily, we have no equipment yet, so we are safe. The 5 is critical failure on the table, powers that be. So we head over to the powers that be table. We draw a card for that. It's the 8. The government sensors intercept your runners. The only story next turn is that the government is great. Okay, we need to remember that. Although we have no runners, but it basically means I cannot broadcast news items in the next turn. So that's that problem. The 6 is one of your runners is eaten by a grue. Luckily I have no runners. And queen is critical failure on the news table. So we head on over there, draw a card. 6, no news next turn, nothing happened, don't worry. I don't believe they carry over. So no news next turn. Well, we can do both. We can just say government is great and there's no other news. Everything's good. Don't worry about it. And I'm sure the listeners will be very happy about that. Yeah. So now we take these. We shuffle up and we continue. I've never been doing this good on turn 3. So unless there's something really catastrophic, I think it's possible that we could actually win the game, but let's see. Okay, we've reached turn 6. And now is when I get my secondary remit. Sorry, should have just been 1 card. I'll shuffle that up in a sec. Jack of diamonds, so everything is fine, but everything is fine, but so that's my secondary remit, which I need to get to all of the settlements. I also managed to get the last 2 news items to the closest 2 settlements, and these get shuffled up. So you go like this week by week, broadcasting, changing the narrative depending on if some problems made you contradict yourself, and etc. Trying not to run out of people because you need the runners. If you don't broadcast a certain week, you have to draw 3 cards as problems. And yeah, I'm not going to run through all the way to turn 10, but just to show off some more of the book. You have some more flavor here about some of the equipment, and here you have an example turn, and like this is an example broadcast. Some more flavor here with some notes at the end of the example turn. Here are your remit tables. Here's some broadcasting guidelines. These are spark tables for your news items. The map as shown already. Your equipment, some more flavor and lore here. Some more flavor and lore here. And this is about the black zones, I believe. Yeah, it's the name of the black zones. Usually military bases. Here is your problems table and the subtables. Some more flavor here, some postcards. This is the back of the postcards that I showed earlier. Here's some more broadcasting advice. It's all very funny. It's really well written. Here is the flowchart. And here's if you want to create your own custom setting. So how to do it, what kind of map you can use. You can create your own maps, but maybe based on your country or your hometown or your region. And some more here about custom settings. Here, this is an example of somewhere in Norway, I believe. Yes, Svalbard. And here are the sheets. Stay tuned and stay safe. I really enjoyed this game. It's easy to come back to. It's easy to try and figure out how to the combination of equipment, using people, using power, etc. Like I said, I haven't completed it. I played through it twice. This looks like the first time that I could possibly win, but you never know what's going to happen with the problem cards. Yeah, and let me just check my notes for anything else. Yeah, so I mean, it was a really successful Kickstarter. As I said, back in February 2023, over 700 people backed it. There was 12,000 euros, like kickstarted. I haven't heard much from the creators since then. I know that they attended some cons in 23-24, but the game is up on the Blackwell Games page, store, and also the digital version only on itch.io. I'd love to see more from the creator, from Fiona. Yeah, I mean, it's a really cool game, lots of flavor and lots of fun. So that's all. That was Dead Air, a game about radioactivity.